It's just the wait. All right, if you're, it's 9:00 right now. Are we live on our website and YouTube page?
You're asking me to multitask.
All right, for those of you who are coming into the broadcast this May 15th, 2021, Saturday morning, 9:00. 9:00 on the nose here in South Florida on the East Coast. For those of you just coming in, we have a variety of software platforms through which we're distributing this live program. This is a live program. We're live streaming it. Look, no green screen, no anything. We're coming to you live on a Saturday morning. Takes a few minutes for us to get the signal out to all these various platforms. And we appreciate you being here. As we said, when we started Monday, we went on the air Monday, 6 days ago. As we said, we will be here every day for the duration of, early on, we said it was being referred to as incidents, a series of incidents around the nation of Israel. Well, the incidents have escalated to a situation, to a crisis, to indeed a war. And we're here today, we'll be here tomorrow, we'll be here Monday, Tuesday. We have great guests lined up all week. I don't want to tell you right now, but very well-known people coming on the show to take a stand with us for Israel. Today we're going to talk to. Well, let me bring on my co-host Susie Gold. Here she is, ladies and gentlemen, Susie Gold in the studio. What the hell is going on? Susie Gold, what happened to you? You transformed.
Yeah.
You got a problem with that though?
You got that LGBT thing going on?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
No big deal if you did. It's okay with me. But
Susie's Shabbating. I'm filling in for Susie.
okay. Live via Israel and the United States, Damon Rosen back in the house, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Susie is doing Shabbat.
Yes.
And she'll be here tomorrow, Sunday, Susie Gold, and she won't be here Monday and Tuesday.
So you treated a good Jew for a bad Jew, huh?
I guess. No, he follows the prescriptions as God speaks to him, so, but we got a lot going on, and we are very fortunate to have you. As many of you know, Damon worked with us for many years here, right in this building and other buildings. We did a lot of stuff, man.
A lot of crazy
A lot of crazy stuff.
Not just in this building, but in some other pretty important buildings.
Yeah, some other pretty important buildings, like the U.S. Capitol. Were we insurrectionists before the real insurrectionists, which are the fake insurrectionists? Who knows?
No.
Wait, no, we went legally.
But we did it all. We did it all right. But we infiltrated the halls, the crooked halls of Congress.
And those guys, we'll tell you that story at some point. We for years have infiltrated the various Muslim Brotherhood organizations. They're behind this thing too. I mean, their hand is all over this with Iran, orchestrating the Hamas. But Damon made Aliyah 2015. And been living in Israel. So we're going to have a unique perspective on this war from somebody who lived there for several years. 4.5 years. Back here right now. Came back to help us on the election with Donald Trump. We were victorious in getting him elected here in the state of Florida. And now in the studio to help us walk through all of this. Let's start out. I mean, you live there, you live where a lot of this craziness is going on. Take a minute or two and kind of sketch out to the folks your perspective from the bird's eye view, and then we'll start digging down into the various pieces.
Well, I'll be clear. The whole time I lived there, it was never like this. This is the craziest thing since 2014, which is the year before I moved there. So I personally have never experienced any of this craziness. I was there, if you want to talk about just what's going on out of Gaza, then there's also the whole Jerusalem thing. And I live downtown Jerusalem. So And I've seen the Arabs rioting before. Not to this extent, I was there at the end of the knife intifada when I first got there, when there were random stabbings and car rammings to civilians. So I was there for the end of that. I don't think Jerusalem has ever in decades seen the kind of fighting that you have between Jews and Arabs on the inside of the country. What's coming out of Gaza is just, you could count on it at least once a decade for however long. It looks like this time that Israel's in no hurry for a ceasefire, and they're actually going to do some damage. And listen, I couldn't, rockets falling in Tel Aviv and the other big cities in the center, Rishon LeZion, I believe I saw, or
Rishon
LeZion, that's crazy. That you have rockets landing there. Beersheba was getting attacked, rockets heading towards Jerusalem. They have to shut down the airport. So I'd never experienced that. I'd had to run to a shelter a few times that I was there. Once it sounded in Jerusalem. And the other time when I lived on the Lebanese border, it was when Israel had flown into Syrian territory. Syria fired missiles at the Israeli fighter jets, and I don't know if it was shrapnel or part of that missile was relatively close. But I did live right where, I don't know if you saw that, a bunch of Lebanese crossed the border into Israel yesterday.
Testing the defense.
Went through the fence. That was Metula. We've been
Metula,
there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Where that
all
fence
of us
was,
here,
or we looked through that fence?
I don't know if it was that part of the fence, but it was Metula, that area, which is which you could see perfectly from Mizgavam.
Yep. Mizgavam is the kibbutz up on the northern end of the country, and it's up on a little bit of a hill and looking right down over into Lebanon, 100 yards away. And you see the Lebanese homes, beautiful homes.
They're much closer than 100 yards. The Lebanese Hezbollah houses are less than 100 yards.
And they got Palestinian flags and
Hezbollah flags.
The Hezbollah flags, the yellow Hezbollah flags. All right, look, it's 9:07 in the morning. We're going to be here at least an hour. And then depending on the facts on the ground and guests we get from Israel, maybe longer. As we said, I got a note yesterday from a good friend of ours, Don Dix. And he wants me to do an interview on his California radio program Monday afternoon. And he said, nobody anywhere is covering this like you guys are covering it. And I wrote back, I said, I know, that's why we're doing it. We have the modest equipment to do it. We have the know-how to make the stuff. Mark's back there. Mary, are you there? Mary in Georgia. Oh, Mary.
You got me busy, Tom.
There she is. So we got people behind the scenes. Then we got people in front of the scenes. We know a bit about what we're talking about. But, and then we have this, this wealth of resources from Ronnie Wexler and many, many others who, this is what we do. So we said, let's bring the story out, and we're not fair and balanced. That's not us. We're giving the side of the U.S. Constitution, the Judeo-Christian worldview, the Israeli point of view, as the one that's right in this battle. If somebody wants to present the other side, go ahead. I mean, who cares if they present? Al Jazeera's presenting the other side.
Oh my gosh, the Turkish TRT world covered. You would think that it's the only thing going on in the world. This is the English language Turkish news.
Hey, Tom.
I have something to bring up here. We are the only ones out there doing this, so much so that when we try to redistribute the thing, YouTube is saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, you're expressing inappropriate content."
Some of the sites were going on. Yeah, Mary, what's that?
I just want to let all of our viewers know that you can find us everywhere from YouTube to Facebook to Twitter. It's getting posted. Even if we can't distribute it live, it's getting reposted out there. So please watch for us everywhere.
Yeah, watch for us everywhere. We tape the show we're taping the show. The show is live. We're taping it. Later on this afternoon, we'll send that out with the announcement for tomorrow's live show. So on the top of our email, you got all the information for Sunday's live show. On the bottom of the email, you can replay this this show. So if you're watching it live down, you go, I got to have my friends and everybody watch that. You forward that email to them. They can watch that show and be ready for Sunday's show. We are the United West. We're an educational counterterrorism organization historically. We got very involved educationally in supporting Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis, very critical state of Florida. And we were gearing up with a coalition of 20 people to do just that, to argue for election integrity, to fight against Biden, to deal with the wall. We've been down to the wall in Mexico. We've been all over the place. And then boom, this thing happens, and we're going to stay with it. Today happens to be, what we'll do today, we're going to draw on Damon's experience of living there and his understanding of the issues. He has done scores of videotapes in Israel on a lot of these issues. But also it's a very important day for our Arab brothers and sisters. What's the day all about?
The Jew ass whooping day.
You want to interpret that a little
It's
bit?
Nakba Day.
Right.
It's the catastrophe of the formation of the Jewish state of Israel.
I actually have a little video if you want to play it out. It's a 1 minute, 30-second overview of how the Arabs see it from an Arab perspective. So it's
Fair and balanced. There we go.
balanced, that's right.
Let me set up a little more.
Okay.
In 1948, ultimately through God's providence, but immediately through a whole variety of geopolitical machinations, boom, on this day. It was done on May 14th, 1948, yesterday. We were in Israel May 14th, 2018 with the embassy moving, 70-year anniversary. Today's the 73rd anniversary. But then the next day, the Arabs said, this is a catastrophe, in Arabic, a Nakba. Let's go kill the Jews. And how many countries attacked 600,000 Jews?
I mean, a dozen, if you want to count everyone who contributed, whether equipment or soldiers or, direct countries, military armies.
So the world communities, the League of Nations, the United Nations, the European this and that, they say, all right, the Jews can have their own land back, a little piece of it, but they can have it back. And the Arabs said, welcome, brothers and sisters, welcome. We are Abrahamic brothers and sisters. Come.
No, Tom, they didn't really say that.
No, that's not
No,
what
Tom.
What they say?
We kill you!
Takbir! They said we kill you. So let's watch from their perspective.
There you go.
Nakba Day, also known as the catastrophe, is celebrated annually on the 15th of May by Palestinians living inside the occupied territories and in the diaspora. It is the day when more than 700,000 Palestinian Arabs were expelled from their homes by Jewish gangs, and hundreds of towns were destroyed during the 1948 Palestine War. For the Israelis, the date marks their independence. While it has been 68 years now since they have established the so-called Israeli state, the Palestinians who were forced to settle in refugee camps in Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and other countries around the world still cling to the right of return to their homeland of Palestine.
Okay, nice piece of love music and babies' faces always work. And There you have it. That was from the Arab point of view.
They're blowing up stuff.
And from the we're also monitoring I-24 News. We have some footage sent by our producer Michelle. She's doing an amazing job, Michelle. Of some rocket attacks in Israel. We'll show you those in a moment. But on May 15th, 1948, the Jews were so thankful. The Jews were so thankful to have the homeland that they went and attacked the Arabs and said, "We kill you, we kill you." And they start killing and forcing the Arabs out and all of that. So there you have it.
No.
The Arabs.
Well,
Is that how it went?
Not really. A few things I'd like to mention. She said that 700,000 Arabs were displaced. Well, how many Palestinian refugees are there today?
7 million.
It's over 5 million. They claim over 5 million. So people have to realize the term refugee is different for any, quote, Palestinian, any Arab that was forced to move back in 1948, so 70 plus years ago. If you were removed from your homeovers, okay, so the way that the UN would determine if you're a refugee or not is you have to be the first offspring of, and once you hit 18, you're no longer a refugee. So out of that 700,000, there's an estimated 10 to 20,000 that should be calculated as
Real life
refugees,
refugees.
according to the United Nations definition of what a refugee is. Okay, out of those 700,000,
So we're doing math. first of
Yes.
all. Okay.
out of 700,000, there are only legitimately 10 to 20,000 still alive. But somehow the United Nations, UNRWA, the United Nations Relief and Work Agency,
Common Core. math.
declares that there's over 5 million, quote, Palestinian refugees. And they're the only entity, quote, Palestinian refugees, other than everyone else in the rest of the world, okay? So there's two types of refugees, according to the UN. There's Palestinian refugees and people from every other country on earth. And they're calculated totally differently. And as far as I'd like to know, if Jews are ethnically cleansing them, how the hell do you go from 700,000 to 5 million? What kind of ethnic
They're not very
cleansing
good.
is
They're not
that?
very good at cleansing.
Do they mean like when they say ethnic cleansing, do they mean like here's running water, take a bath, cleansing?
You got a question, Mark?
No, I'm just, it's, let me get my microphone here. It's just ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous.
The whole thing is completely ridiculous. I mean, how can you have a refugee? And you go look at them and they've been there like 3 or 4 generations. They're like, okay, you're not a refugee anymore. You're just claiming to be a refugee.
You're living in New York, and you got a hummus stand, and you're a refugee.
No, seriously. That is considered.
I know that 3 generations down in New York, they're going to school. They were born here. They'll think they're refugees to Palestine somewhere. So
Nihad Awad is probably considered.
he's probably a refugee. So what we're going to do today, we're going to look at the elements of the war, but we're also looking at this day because there's calls throughout the Arab world, 1.3 billion people. There's calls for the Arab uprising on Nakba Day. We've been to campuses, on Israel Apartheid Week, Nakba, all of this stuff. They need reasons to get riled up. It's very important, particularly for our viewers.
Day
and
of
listeners.
Rage.
Yeah, Day of Rage. They need reasons. You can get riled up, but you should have a factual foundation upon which your anger is based. This is so bizarre and so untrue, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when you're angry, and the facts don't matter. And it doesn't matter when you hate the group that is causing you to have all this anger. When you hate the Jews, the facts don't matter. And we've seen the anti-Semitism worldwide, that math doesn't even matter anymore. It's like everybody's the Palestinian refugee.
And also there's a 73 Nakba Day. Explain all that just for people who don't.
Well, they just, in the 67 war, in the 73, they were defeated in both of them. Another catastrophe. These are now we have the 73 Nakba catastrophe, but the real basis for their term and their belief system comes out of May 15th, 1948. But let's go back. Let's do a little history here besides math. What occurred on May 15th that 700,000 Palestinians left Israel? What was going on?
Well, that was when Israel became a country and the British basically took off, and Israel, even though, I mean, we could go back many years before, and Israel should have been actually what is current day Jordan, was supposed to be part of the state of Israel.
Which was biblically so, but that's another issue.
Israel took what the UN offered. The Arabs did not. And the Arabs said, you know what? We're not going to have any Jews in our neighborhood. And so resident Arabs, Arab countries, all tried to literally kill all the Jews. And instead of that happening, Israel somehow defended itself and actually took a little bit more land. You know, they had to have some kind of security. And a lot of Arabs stayed. Listen, a lot of Arabs were encouraged to leave, you know, leave the area. We'll go
There's
kill.
going to be a war. We're going to kill
all the
Yeah.
Jews. Then you go back, you take whatever house you want. That's how it's going to go.
All right, we got to explain that to the folks. The United Nations says Israel on this day, we're having a transition. Ben Gurion came up with it's not a constitution, but the charter of the state of Israel. People move there, and the Jews are getting ready to move in. The Arabs, you know.
Well, the Jews were already there.
Well, yeah. No, I mean, more were coming. The Jews have been there since the beginning, but more were coming back. This is right after the war, right after the whole mess in Europe. And the Arabs are going, easy to beat, particularly when we got Syria, we got Jordan, we got Lebanon, we got Egypt, we got Iraq, we got Iran. Everybody's going to help us destroy these. There were 600,000 Jews in Israel at the time. And each day some more would come on boats. Easy enemy to defeat. So like you said, the Arabs told their friends, it's going to be a little bloody for a little while, maybe a month, quick war. Go away, go live in Jordan, go to Iraq, go to Iran, go wherever. We're going to kill them. Then you come back and have their homes. You can have their fields. You can have everything. We'll give it to you, all yours. So they left. But what happened?
Well, hold on. I just want to explain.
The rest of the story.
I was explaining something a little bit more, and they were right to think of Israel like that, because Israel, their air force consisted of, check this out, three airplanes. One was an old decrepit B-17 bomber that didn't work, and two more were German Luftwaffe fighters.
If you don't believe in God, and you look at victory, and it wasn't an immediate victory. It took about a year for the Israelis to get victorious, and I think the war was even fought to like a tie.
Yeah, it was because they had there was never an official border.
Never official border. So, but in that tie, they managed to gain more land and to solidify their base and to start building an infrastructure of an Israeli defense force. They had the Palmuk, they had Haganah, they had various military wings. But they were not organized. They didn't come from a great.
They were fighting each other.
And they had literally pitchforks and guns that shot one bullet, put another one in, shot another bullet against organized armies and air forces. It's a miracle.
Well, I'll tell you, very interesting. A lot of American gangsters were responsible for getting Israel some of their best weapons. They smuggled them in.
You mean the Jewish element of that?
Of your people.
Of that unknown organization. You guys handled the money. We handled the knocking the heads down, you know.
No, seriously, American gangsters were responsible for smuggling in some of the best weapons, because a lot of the European countries didn't want to let the Jews arm themselves and defend themselves.
It is. I mean, if you want to read about this, you can go read about it, and you can see the miracle that took place. So in 1948, by 1949, Israel established itself, and the Arab community goes, this isn't easy getting rid of these people. So the war stopped and it became friends.
Yeah, but here's something. Here's what the Palestinians, this is why I keep going like this. If you're only listening, I'm air quoting every time I say Palestinian.
I'm going to back up to that. You said something else earlier, which was are the refugees from Jordan, or are they refugees from?
Exactly. That's what I'm getting into, is what, it's not like, okay, when that armistice happened, okay, in 1949, after the War of Independence, 48. So an armistice happened. It's not like it was Israel and Palestine. It was Israel and Jordan occupied parts of Judea and Samaria, what the media refers to as the West Bank. So people that lived there were given Jordanian citizenship. They were not, quote, Palestinians. They were given Jordanian citizenship. They were considered Jordanians. Jordan's military controlled that part of, I call it Israel, okay? Judea and Samaria, Jordan was occupying it. There was never a country of Palestine. If this is just remedial, I'm sure most of you know this.
Well, the care organizations and the BLM who are now joining with the Palestinians would disagree with you. But again, that's not factual information. A note from Mary, make sure you remember your mic. And let's go to I-24 for a second. Ongoing heavy rocket barrages in Israel. Let's listen to a little bit of this, then we'll show some footage we got from our sources in Israel.
This has really been a wave of rockets hitting all areas of the country in the last few days. What are your thoughts on what they've been experienced here?
Well, I think that what we're seeing may be the beginning of the end of all this, believe it or not, because as ceasefire talks really take off, and now there's an American envoy here in Jerusalem who's actively
problem solved.
Ceasefire along with the Egyptians and the Qataris, the violence will escalate because everybody wants to get the last word. So Hamas fired rockets at Tel Aviv, which is probably connected also to Nakba Day, the day the Palestinians called their disaster from 1948, and Israel responds by knocking a building which it says housed Hamas operatives, Hamas intelligence.
We will kill you.
The main offices of international media. Now, let's not forget, when you knock down the building of international
They
media,
love death more than we love life, right?
Exposure. And Israel wants
They
that
knock down their
exposure.
media
When you knock
station.
down big buildings, it's big news. It makes Israel look strong.
Absolutely. We're going out for a quick break, but we will be back in a moment. Stay with us.
I-24 is grabbing all these attractive Israeli. She's not, well, she's an Israeli, but she's from South Africa or something. She does a good job. She was walking the other day in the streets of Akko, those areas where the rioting was, with the rioters, and the studio saying, "Be careful! I'm with these men. It's okay." You know, look at her walking with the rioters there. We have some footage from Ramadan. Where is Ramadan? You know that area, Ramadan. In
That area?
Yeah.
That area is
That's
a
it.
month.
What
It's
do you
a,
mean? No, not Ramadan. Ramadan.
oh, Ramadan.
Ramadan.
I don't know.
That area.
It's
Ramadan.
it's like adjacent to Tel Aviv.
Right
Like
close to Tel Aviv.
Yeah, that basically touches Tel Aviv.
All right. So when the analyst was saying rockets going into Tel Aviv, it hits the suburban areas. Here's some footage.
Well, this is like city. That's a Ramadan's more like city. You'll have a lot of mid-rise buildings. Densely populated. Okay, it's not a suburb. It is more. It is very
urban
densely,
area. It's an urban area.
very densely
We have
populated.
3 or 4 videos. It doesn't matter the order because they're all different perspectives of the attacks that took place there overnight. Here we go.
וואו! אימא'לה! אימא'לה, אני בשוק!
You don't have your screen up.
I'm looking at that right there.
I just played it.
Okay.
Play the next one. Wow, we got to see it. Where are we going to see it?
It's right here. I told you.
I get play it again. Roll it again there.
Just a minute.
I didn't hear any audio. Or was that the audio?
I heard the audio.
1 second. And I'll play it.
Okay. We got too many screens going on in here.
I'm confused.
I know, it's confusing.
It's not like it used to be.
Oh, we're man down.
I know.
We need you back here, Damon.
There.
Oh, here we go. Oh, this is Ashkelon.
אימא'לה, אני
That's
בשוק!
an oil area in Ashkelon that got hit. They hit that. That's a pretty big explosion. That's bad. If you're keeping track, that's score 1 for Hamas on that one. That was a key target that was hit.
Now, the next.
Now we're in Ramadan.
I don't know which one is what. You're just gonna have to. You're gonna have to. You have to give me a little more prep on this, Tom.
I've never seen this one before.
Okay.
Well, just for the,
Here we go. Right. This is right after it hit. Everybody's running, sirens going off.
Jeez.
Now he turns the corner. These are streets you walk around as a tourist.
Right there.
Look at it. After it hit, it blew up around the corner.
I mean, look, these are high-rise buildings.
These are high-rise buildings.
No, this is this is an expensive area of town. I mean, this is not, this isn't the West Kansas, okay? It's very expensive to live there. These are some of the most densely populated areas in the country.
All right, let's see the next one.
Okay.
While you're looking, here's what's going on. Tom Trento here, 9:31 in the morning. Damon Rosen with me. Here's the next video. Another angle of the same Ramadan, same attack. Look at it. It's hit over there and the windows out blocks away. Start little Katusha rockets. These are 10
וואו, האוטו חטף פיצוץ.
You've probably been on that street.
I'm
100
sure I
times.
have.
And then there's one that shows a house after it's been hit. These are from our producer, Michelle. Here, look at this.
2,300 plus rockets.
2,300 rockets since Monday. How many days? 6 days, 500 a day, right? From 300 a day, 400 a day. 4 times 24, 400 rockets a day.
How many times can you bomb shelter?
תראו מה הולך. זה השכנים, אמא שלך פה בפנים, בממ"ד.
This is not a direct hit. This is collateral damage.
לא נורמלי. תראו מה הולך פה. תראו מה הולך ברחוב.
They were in their safe room, but
There's where it hit over there.
it hit across the street. Replay that. Take a look at this.
So there's where it hit right there. Look, it hit over there.
Hit right there. And we'll start it from the beginning.
תראו מה הולך. נפל פה בבניין שלי.
What happened?
תראו מה הולך.
He walks through the house.
זה השכנים, אמא שלך פה בפנים, בממ"ד. לא נורמלי. תראו מה הולך פה. תראו מה הולך ברחוב.
I just noticed
Boom.
something. I just noticed something. All the destruction out there, they come back, but the bananas are untouched.
Well, hopefully they were in the proverbial Israeli safe room. Tell the folks, Damon, what is the safe room? What is that all about?
I forgot what year it was instituted, but I want to say it was in, I don't know, it could have been the mid-90s. All new construction, any new house has to have a safe room, which is basically a bomb shelter in your home. So, but realize, people, there are houses there that people live in that are over 100 years old. Where I lived in Jerusalem, my first place, the building over 100 years old. So they don't all, not every Israeli has a safe room in their house. Where I live,
Hang on 1 second. That's that rocket that hit from down the street. The guy's looking out his window. And you can see the town is built up.
Yeah, look back there in the background. It's just civilians.
Urban area.
that's a 8-10 story building right there. This is not, it's not hitting in the middle of farmland. This isn't the border area around Gaza that is pretty rural, Now, but realize some of the communities right around Gaza are pretty densely packed. You've been in some of them.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but there are areas. Sderot is pretty densely populated itself. I mean, it's not a ton of high rises, but it is pretty densely populated. So, but
finish with the safe room.
The safe room is, so not everyone in Israel has a safe room. Most do not. Anything, I forget the year, I could look it up. I want to say it was the mid-90s, could have been early 2000s. New construction, so you have steel doors, reinforced concrete. And if you're lucky, you have a safe room in your house. Otherwise, you have to get out of your house, run down the block that if you were to walk it, it would take you 2-3 minutes to do, but you somehow have to do it in 15 to 30 seconds.
With your grandmother and 2 little kids.
And
you know?
listen, that's how some of these people are getting hurt. I saw an 87-year-old woman. I don't know if she died or a severe injury from running to a bomb shelter. It wasn't from the bomb, but you know what? If you're running to a bomb shelter, that's certainly related to the bombing. And just think about the kids.
And there's some more damage right here.
You know, think about kids.
Yeah, this may be that same area.
Because joining us here live, Jonathan, explain to us, please, roughly 3 hours ago, perhaps a little bit less, what was the scene here? What exactly happened?
Actually, exactly 3 hours ago, what happened was that a rocket fell. You see, they've already speedily covered it up for public safety. And then the shrapnel scattered everywhere. You see the amount of damage here.
Look at this building up here with
Unfortunately,
shrapnel.
the Israeli civilian who was killed is in a house 30
Oh, that
meters
could have
away,
just been
was
construction.
hit by a piece of shrapnel. This is one of the remains of the rockets that you can see, something that's becoming all too familiar for Israeli civilians. This type of rocket, this is actually the casing that holds the inside of the
That'll
rocket.
rip right
And in a
through your
second, I
body.
have the shrapnel to show you as well. So what we're talking about is more than 2,300 rockets fired from Gaza at Israel already, 6 days into fighting, and that marks, unfortunately, sadly, the 10th Israeli civilian killed.
Look at the
Now,
damage.
we're seeing this shrapnel. This is exactly the reason why people are told to stay home even after the sirens have ended, even after we've heard the interceptions. There's still danger. Say 5 or 10 minutes later, people have to stay indoors, and sometimes, unfortunately, even that's not enough.
I just did a live Facebook broadcast from one of the apartments upstairs. The apartment was totally ruined, everything upside down, glass everywhere, and it's a house of an elderly lady. Her life was saved because she carefully made her way into the
We're talking about
bomb shelter, shut the door, and waited for 10 minutes. That's how her life was saved, because she did what the Home Front Command tells people to do. That's extremely important.
Now we're seeing these buildings rather old, 50, maybe 60 years old. They have the previous way of defense, which is the underground shelter, but not the protected home, not the protected room.
Who you're talking about.
What can people do? Because there's no time to run downstairs, not even here, certainly not further down south. What exactly can people do to protect themselves?
So as per the guidance of the Home Front Command, it's to find the safest and best built place. Usually that is the staircase. Usually that will be the staircase where people, if they don't have access to a bomb shelter, which is very rare. That's not the case for most people in Israel. But if you don't have time, then you should go to the staircase. That's what the Home Front commanded us. But let's get back to the big picture here. We're talking about a deliberate escalation by Hamas. They have now fired more than 2,300 rockets. They are indicating that they want to escalate the situation, that they want to notch it up. And if anybody was thinking about maybe de-escalating the situation, that puts that definitely off the table. And it of course urges the IDF to continue to strike terror targets in Gaza, to strike where the terrorists are, to strike their facilities, their production sites, the senior terrorists, wherever they are, even if they're
That's what it's about.
and even if they're
It's the
using
senior
infrastructure that is also
officers.
co-used by other entities.
How much bigger is that target bank by the IDF? We saw many terror targets being hit. How many more are there?
Yeah, we've struck more than 600 targets belonging to Hamas and the Islamic Jihad over these 6 days. And every strike is deliberate. We don't just waste munitions. We strike targets, we strike operatives, and the infrastructure, all of that I said before. There's an abundance of targets. Unfortunately, Hamas is embedded and has had time and the energy to produce lots of infrastructure facilities, rocket launchers.
Forget hospitals and schools. We build terror tunnels with our money.
We recently, two nights ago, conducted a very large aerial bombardment of the, until now, secret Hamas tunnel system that they had dug underneath the neighborhoods of Gaza. That was struck. And I can assure you that there is no shortage of military targets.
No shortage of military targets. You say Jonathan Conrico Sadia, spokesman, thank you very much for being with us.
We dealt with him on several issues.
And there you heard it, an important message coming here, especially to the people in central Israel, not always having the protected room within their house. The safe place is the stairway, something that unfortunately most people have already in central Israel have had to experience.
Look at that car.
Run to the shelter, perhaps.
That's not where it got hit. That's the
Across the street.
collateral damage, yeah.
Reality now, and as much as we're hearing, probably will be the reality for days to come.
Okay, Jonathan Regev out in Ramat Gan, thank you so much for your time. We are going to go out for another break.
Okay. Also, tell people what's.
All right, it's 9:40 in the morning. Tom Trento here, Jay Mark, and we got Damon. The United West, we're broadcasting every day since last Monday, day 6. We'll be here 7, 8, 9, 10. Some of our experts say Wednesday, Thursday of next week. This is going to end. Tell your friends what we're doing. 9 a.m. East Coast every morning. Very, very important. We're bringing live coverage, experts. Yesterday, I had 3 people. Ari Agozi was coming out of a bomb shelter talking to us. Unbelievable. So we're doing tremendous coverage. Mark, you had a thought.
Well, tell people what the ordinance is inside these things.
You ready? I sent you that.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah. We're gonna show you. Mark's gonna put it up on this screen. We're gonna show you an analysis that our friend Steve Emerson did on the type of munitions that Gaza is using, the Hamas is using. What screen?
If you only put on that screen.
Yeah, this one. We're going to put it up here so Damon and I can talk about it, see it here. People have, I don't think people have a full understanding of the type of weaponry that Gaza is using, that Hamas is using. And I wasn't even aware of some of the munitions they now have. But we don't have a problem with that. But then here's the situation. The Jonathan, I forget his last name.
Conricus.
Oh, that's it. He mentioned, he's the spokesperson for the IDF. He mentioned that there are unlimited targets available. Help us understand, Damon, what he means by unlimited targets. They took over the Hamas, the Palestinian, not the Palestinians, the citizens of Gaza took over about 15, 16 years now. Where's all the money that gets poured in there by the United Nations, by the United States? Where's the money going?
It goes to Hamas predominantly. Hamas is the government of the Gaza Strip. Hamas is a terrorist organization.
They're designated
that doubles as the de facto government. They took over from Mahmoud Abbas's Palestinian Authority. They threw a bunch of them off of buildings and shot them in the streets and in their offices. And they said, okay, we run Gaza now. And that's why you've had, the internal, quote, Palestinian civil war between the Palestinian Authority, Judea and Samaria, and Hamas and Gaza. Now realize, a part of why this all was starting also was Abbas was going, he's serving the 17th
Who is Abbas?
year.
Who is Abbas?
Mahmoud Abbas is the president of the Palestinian Authority. Okay, so he's
separate than Hamas.
Yes. So he's serving the 17th year of his 4-year term. And so they were going to have elections. And he was afraid that Hamas was going to win the elections in Judea and Samaria.
Between all the Muslims.
Yes, and the Arab Christians that live there, the few of them.
So everyone except Israelis.
Correct. We're election down enough. Thank you.
So we have Judea, Samaria, called the West Bank by the media,
run by the Palestinian Authority.
How many Arabs there?
Couple
million.
Between 1.6 and 2. It depends. They like to overstate it. I've seen numbers as low as 1.6 million, but they'll claim it's 2.5 sometimes.
Let's use 2 million just for the sake of the audience.
For the sake of the audience.
And 2 million in Gaza.
2 million in Gaza.
All right. So you have a group of 2 million under one Islamic political structure and a group of 2 million in Gaza, we got to get a map up here, under another political structure, they're not friendly?
No, in 2007, they were killing each other in the streets in Gaza City for control of Gaza. And now Hamas.
So the PA was going to have an election right now. And what happened?
They were all going to have they were going to have a quote Palestinian election.
And pick one of the governments?
And then there would be a winner.
Okay.
You know, but Abbas, serving the 17th year of his 4-year term.
On the PA side,
on the PA side is very afraid that Hamas would actually take over in Judea, Samaria, the West Bank. Okay. And so there would be a terrorist organization running what wants to be a country. Okay. So, I mean, literally, had they had elections, chances are Hamas would be running Ramallah as well as Gaza City.
Unbelievable.
So there's total friction. And listen, when the Linda Sarsours and the Palestinian activists around the world would say, oh, look, there's no electricity in Gaza. There's no electricity in Gaza. You know who was shutting off the electricity to them? It wasn't Israel. It was the Palestinian Authority. They purposefully letting the people of Gaza suffer. Now, listen, the people of Gaza happen to elect Hamas. So you get what you deserve. But it's also true that a lot of the regular people of Gaza are sick of Hamas. But if you speak up against Hamas, you either get killed or beaten pretty close to death. So there's not a lot of alternatives right now.
So their election kabuki dance is a little crazier than yours over there.
We have too many. They don't have any. We have them like every, you know.
You got elections every couple of months. Okay, it's a new election.
Yeah.
And is Netanyahu running? Yeah, of course he's running. You know, run forever. So
we're looking at a 5th election.
I know.
In all likelihood. And so if you want to go, and the regularly scheduled one. So Israel's had votes to see who runs the country. Let's see, 4 times in 2 years, and then go back. So we've probably had elections 6 or 7 times, and they've had 0.
They've had none, exactly. And the irony is there's in all of these developments in the Middle East, particularly in Israel, there's so many levels that have to be unpacked or visited. In a bizarre way, Netanyahu was hanging on for dear life a week ago. And, you know,
he lost his mandate to form the government.
Couldn't do it.
Couldn't get it done. And it looked like there was going to be an opposition party, the Change, which was just a horrendous group of things that don't belong together. It was just, we hate Netanyahu, you know, let's hold our noses at each other.
Yeah.
You know, we'll kill each other later. But, you know, I mean, honestly, what's happened is because of that internal fighting between the Jews and Arabs, realize that the anti-Netanyahu bloc, part of that coming to fruition was a different Abbas who is the head of an Islamist party that actually got 4 seats in the Israeli Knesset.
Unbelievable.
So you have a Jew hating.
You
have a Jew hating Muslim serving in the Israeli Knesset. And that's who the anti-Netanyahu bloc was going to have to get support from to form a government. So now, and Naftali Bennett, the right-wing Naftali Bennett, was going to be okay with needing the support from a terrorist serving in the Knesset. Okay, yeah, I'll hold my nose. Okay, it's not Netanyahu, it's Yair Lapid, who, by the way, I think he has a high school diploma, not a day of college, I don't believe. Yair Lapid, that's really great, Israel. Electing a president that's never gone a day to college, or a prime minister. But what's happened is this fighting between the Jews and the Arabs, literally fighting in the streets, has at least temporarily created a wedge between right-wing Naftali Bennett and the terrorist serving in Knesset Abbas, not to be confused with the terrorist Abbas that runs the Palestinian Authority. That's Mahmoud Abbas.
I'm following. I don't know if our friends
No.
viewing and listening, but
there's there's actually a terrorist supporting
let me explain that.
Muslim that serves in the Israeli Knesset.
Let me explain. The apartheid Israel.
Yes, very
right?
apartheid.
Israel doesn't have a bicameral system like we have. Two houses, a Senate and a House of Representatives forming the Congress. That's our form. Israel follows Britain's form of a parliament, and you basically you elect a party, and the party has so many people that's running. So when you go and vote in Israel, you vote for, name some of the parties.
Likud is Netanyahu's. Then Labor was a big one for years. Labor.
What's a normal size of the number of people?
Okay, first of all, there's 120 seats
right
in the Israeli Knesset. You need 61.
A majority plus one. Yeah.
Majority plus one to form a government and appoint the prime minister. Okay. Here's the thing, in Israel's history, no single party has ever gotten 61 seats. So you need coalitions among parties.
Which kind of makes sense because you got to give and take a little bit, except when the coalition wants to chop your head off.
Right.
So a radical Muslim Brotherhood, Jew-hating Muslim can get elected to the Israeli parliament, the Knesset. Is that possible?
Yes, we have them serving. Yes.
How can people complain that Israel is a closed country and doesn't allow? I mean, how does that work?
I don't know. Why don't you ask that to some of the Muslim
surgeons
at some of the top hospitals in Israel, or some of the high-ranking Muslims in the IDF, or some of the high-ranking Muslims in the police department, or the one sitting on the Supreme Court in Israel? Because it's so apartheid that actually exists.
And let's make this point. There's 56 Islamic nations. 56. There's of 1.3 billion people. There's one Jewish nation. Could we call it a Jewish nation? Could we call it?
For now.
One Jewish nation.
I'm joking, yes.
A little tiny dot with all this stuff around them with 7 million Jews there. Tiny, tiny little thing.
Size of New Jersey.
And they have this crazy size of New Jersey. They have this crazy form of government, but somehow they stumble along and they're a first world country in spite of all the people that are living there that want to kill them. It's absolutely amazing. But here's the point I want everybody to consider here at 9:52 in the morning. Of the 56 Islamic nations, what form of government do you think Israel should replace with one of the Islamic forms of government? Somebody tell me that. As cockeyed and cockamamie and crazy as the Israeli government may be, you got an Israeli sitting here that'll tell you that. What Islamic country's government would you prefer to replace and have that form of government run Israel? Which one would you replace? The king of Saudi Arabia? You want to do a king? Have a king there? Off with your head. Yeah. Think about
it's a stupid question. It's a stupid question. Listen, Israel is too democratic. And listen, and on top of the 2 million Arabs in Judea, Samaria, the 2 million in Gaza, there's 1.2 to 1.4 Arab Israelis that live in Israel proper. And that's where you're seeing the rioting between the Jews and Arabs. Now, these people have every right that a Jew has, other than they don't have to serve in the military, a lot of them, okay? Most of them do not serve in the military. Some do, but they don't have to. But they all vote. That's how they elect these terrorists to the Knesset. You have terrorists elected by Israeli Arabs, serving in the Israeli Knesset that would side with Hamas against the state of Israel. Literally. Okay, that's how stupid the democracy is there, is that it allows for terrorists to get elected to the Knesset that are allies of Israel's enemies. And when I say enemies, I don't mean just ideologically. I mean military enemies serving in the Israeli Knesset. It's amazing.
2,300 missile enemies. On one of our earlier shows a few years back before he went to prison,
Not me, I didn't go to prison.
We were interviewing Anjem Chowdhury,
Yes.
the Islamic activist organizer in London, basically organizing people going into Syria to fight for the Islamic State. We had a kind of
That was
a
the best
repartee, a friendly relationship. Even though I asked them, if I come to London, can we sit down and have a cup of coffee? I don't drink coffee, but I'll take you to an ice cream shop and we can have ice cream. I said, and we'd have a nice conversation. Yeah. And then, would you recommend my death? Absolutely. I would recommend your death because
No, he prefaced that.
it has to go through the state, through the Islamic State.
He would offer you.
Oh, an opportunity to accept Islam.
Yes.
I'd offer you an opportunity to accept Islam. And then if you didn't, you are an enemy of Islam. So I would have the state, the Islamic State at that point, execute you. I said, okay, thank you very much, my friend, right? But I asked them a question. I said, of all your 56 countries out there, which one is following the Quran? Which one is the most beautiful example of Islamic jurisprudence, Islamic love, Islamic culture? Which of the 56, you got a lot to choose from, which of the 56 you say, that is what the world should look like? That's an Islamic nation. I was very curious with his
direct answer too.
He did. You remember what he said?
None of them.
No. He said, right now it would be the Islamic State in Syria. They are following the Quran most. This was 14 or 15, whenever we were doing it, 2000. The Islamic State, see where they were chopping off heads because they're following the Sharia. They're following the Sharia the most closely. So look, we got a battle going on.
In what way you got to respect it?
You have to respect them. Don't have moral equivalency where, well, the Jews are partially wrong and the Arabs are partially wrong, and that's the way it is. You can be politically wrong on issues, but when you escalate to indiscriminately sending missiles purposely to kill citizens, now it's a whole different world that we're living in. And these are the missiles that are going out there. Yeah, look, how dare you defend yourself?
Is that Bernie Sanders?
It's worse. All right, 9:56. We're going to go for a little bit more. I want to walk through the missiles here. This is going to be a primer, a briefing in the stuff that the Israelis are running from right now. And all thanks to our buddy Steve Emerson, who put this together. Let's start at the top for a second. If not for the Iron Dome. So have you ever seen the Iron Dome in operation, firing anything?
I might have seen something in the sky once, but I've been literally at an Iron Dome.
What does it look like?
It looks like, I can't remember if it's 16. It's tall tubes on what looks like a trailer that you could trailer behind an F-350 truck. Okay, so they're mobile, and then they have the stabilizers like you would have on, let's say, a
crane.
Big
You
camper.
put the
feet down on it to stabilize it, and that's it. It's probably about, one battery is probably about half the size of this room, I would say.
So like a trailer, like a Airstream.
It could go down the road. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
It could go down the road, but it'll take up the whole road, and it's a little bit longer than it is wide. And they're, I don't know, gosh, I can't remember, maybe 12, 14 feet tall.
Mark's putting a Iron Dome up, and it was developed, I know, through Israel, through United States technology, and the thing is simply amazing. The task, the engineers had a task to, look, that goes down and then it lifts up. The engineers had a task to shoot a bullet out of the air with a bullet, hit a bullet with a bullet, and it went out to them. All right, you saw it, and the telemetry that goes into it, the information that goes into it, basically says this: when something pops up, figure out if it's going to hit a sensitive area or go in an area where nothing's going to hit it. Don't waste any bullets.
Because they're about $100,000 per
pop. Tell the audience that again.
every time the Iron Dome is used, so they make it sound like, oh, Israel has Iron Domes. Israel has Iron Domes. Let's see. Let's do the math. Okay, it's $100,000 per missile approximately. So out of 2,300, now realize what Tom just said. They're not shooting an Iron Dome every time something is fired.
Say it's half. Yeah, take a thousand rockets times $100,000.
So let's say $100,000
$100 million.
times
1,000.
1,000 equals, it's $100 million.
So $100 million already just whoop, just fired off like that. Now, what did it save? Probably saved hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of lives and infrastructure.
That's
more like 200 million.
It's probably higher, yeah.
Well, again, they're not firing off. It's
Right.
probably less than that. Okay, they haven't fired even 1,000. But whatever, you can't just say, oh, Israel has the Iron Dome. It's not free. It's not like they're not perfect. They're somewhere between, range from 80 to 90%. They used to say 90+%. Well, we just saw someone got killed in Ramat Gan, so it's clearly not 100% perfect. Has it saved a ton of lives? Yes.
And we had Ari on yesterday, Gozi, who does work in these areas, and he said there's 4 levels. I knew there were 3, but now there's a 4th level of missile defense that the Israelis
That's
are
more for the big stuff coming from Iran.
And I have a point about the Iron Dome, which not too many people bring. Yeah, not too many people bring up is let's hypothetically say that there wasn't an Iron Dome system, and all these rockets were getting through, and we're taking out, hitting civilians or hitting cows and everything. I mean, just destroying, Tel Aviv and everything like that. I would, as bad as that sounds, I think the solution would be, okay, we got to go wipe these guys out now. And
10,000 people would be dead. 10,000 Arabs in Gaza would be dead.
They would be completely
saving
saving Arab lives, but it's also prolonging the conflict. I'm saying, because once you have such massive destruction coming in on the backside, you're going to say, okay, we're done with this. We're going to go and wipe these guys out. And that's what really needs to happen, is to wipe them out.
Big proportionality.
You can't wipe out an ideology. That's the problem.
No, but you can wipe out a territory.
You can wipe out the military capability. What we're talking about, folks, here, again, we've been doing this for a long time, and sometimes we get into our own conversations, but the issue is a very interesting moral issue. Because of this defensive capability of the Iron Dome, and the idea is a dome of iron protecting Israel. The dome happens to be missiles that are shooting down anything coming into that dome. Interesting metaphor. But the idea that now Israel has the capability to decrease the lethality and destruction extends the war, because Israel doesn't have to end it that quickly, and saves more Arab lives than Israeli lives. Because if they shut the Iron Dome off in 2 hours, the barrages of rockets would have the whole country in an uproar, telling everybody, launch every airplane, every armament, every Merkava, every F-22, every F-35, everything we have, and wipe out the enemy. And you'd see massive destruction. And when we talked to even Dan Gordon the other day and said, if the Hezbollah starts doing this 1,000 a day, then you stop 900 if you could, 100 get in. Now he said all the proportionalities off the table.
I gotta tell you, I'm a little shocked. I am a little shocked that Hezbollah has not joined in, which would really, this is nothing. As bad as what's going on now, Hezbollah is magnitudes worse, not to mention the fact that we have so many assets down around Gaza now that it would be an opportune time for Hezbollah to do their thing. But I also think there's probably a little bit of a back channel from Israel to Tehran saying, listen, anything out of Hezbollah? You don't like the little explosions around your country now? You don't like the fire at Natanz? You don't like, your ports getting messed up? We're telling you now.
You don't like Netanyahu doing PowerPoints with your
You don't like what we've done to you so far. You better control Hezbollah, because we're not coming back just to Lebanon. You're going to get a big surprise in downtown Tehran.
Yeah, what we're talking about Hezbollah,
the party of God.
We have Imam Abdullah. I forgot Imam Abdullah. What does Hezbollah mean?
It is the party of God.
The party of God. Okay, that's a good party. The party of God. They're an armed.
Not your God.
Okay,
Allah.
okay. Are they an armed? Imam Abdullah, what do you make out of all of this stuff? And what is today? What's so special about today?
Today is the Nakba Day. Today is the day that we celebrate. We mark the catastrophe of the formation of the Zionist entity.
In 1948.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you a refugee?
Yes, I am refugee.
And where do you live now?
I live in the hills of a country close to Israel.
Oh, okay. Do you live in a nice home and all of that?
Very beautiful home.
Okay.
4 stories, and the bottom one is all missiles.
Okay, good. All right. And what? How do we end this, Imam Abdullah? You're a moderate imam, right?
Oh, very moderate.
Okay. How do we end this?
How do we end this? As a big bang happens.
Check that big bang.
I think that was your neighbor.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure that's your neighbor. How does this end? The Gaza part can end relatively quickly, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because, like Mark, I think we have to do a lot more damage because this is just a cycle. This is just a stupid
7-year
cycle
itch
that keeps going. Now, it seems like Israel's actually hit Gaza harder than any point since 2014. I realize ground troops
That was
went in
50 days.
2014.
That was a 50-day war. This is day 6.
I don't think we want to go in there. In all honesty, the technology has gotten so good with the drones and everything else has really, I think, and I'm not a military expert, I believe to do some of the damage that we've done this time around would have required at least a certain amount of ground troops to get the intelligence as far as where a lot of these Hamas assets are. Whereas now a lot, the electronic surveillance and everything has gotten just so good that it enables Israel to keep ground forces out. Not that there aren't some there.
I'm in the camp where you start from the north, move all the way down, George Patton approach, push him into Egypt, let Egypt deal with him. Okay, I'm done. What's not our problem? Get rid of the problem. The problem is the people want to launch rockets and kill Jews. That's the entire problem. They hate Jews. They want to exterminate Jews, and they're going to continue to exterminate Jews no matter what you do. So move them out, get them the hell out of there, start something anew, fresh, start from the start, all again, new job, new country.
Run by Sisi, clamp down on the Muslim Brotherhood, which Hamas is essentially the Muslim Brotherhood. So Egypt isn't going to be like, oh yeah, come on in, because they're predominantly Hamas supporters. So Egypt doesn't want them.
Jordan doesn't want them.
Why? Because they're terrorists. They're terrorists.
Lebanon doesn't want them.
What do we do with terrorists?
But the world fights for them.
Oh, and then listen, apartheid Israel, just to get back to this real quick. Apartheid Israel, you have refugees, Arabs that left their homes in 1948, that in 1967, that ended up in Lebanon and Syria. They're still living in refugee camps. Okay, they can't get certain jobs. They're shut out of certain jobs in Lebanon. They can't vote in Lebanon. And they're there since 1948. My grandparents came to America in 1951. They lost their homes too to Nazis, and we're in a displaced persons camp in Italy before they made it to America. Okay, am I a Czech refugee? Am I a Romanian refugee, or am I an Italian refugee because my grandparents spent time in Italy?
You know, interesting theory. May have some Italian blood, who knows? I know the whole thing is crazy. Let's look at these missiles. So the Iron Dome is saving Arab lives, saving Jewish lives, postponing this, but from a strategic perspective, postponing it so that Israel has more time to demilitarize. That means take the guns away or make inoperative the guns, the ammunition, the stuff that Gaza has. But even if it took everything away, another 8 years, it would be built back up again.
They smuggle the stuff
They
in
smuggle it
regularly.
in, you know? All right, so let's go to look at some of these missiles. First of all, this is pretty good. The Israelis are posting these kinds of memes. I guess this would be a meme. They're putting the jihadis, this thing in Arabic says, you know, wanted, dead or alive, dead, 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 this guy's dead, this guy's dead. And they're naming names. Now, all these people in Gaza, I don't know about the Palestinian Authority, they're going to have what? Schools named after them? How's all that work?
Probably soccer teams, schools, parks, streets.
They literally have trading cards and posters for these guys.
Yeah, in the Islamic world, if you die in a jihad, and it's constantly a jihad, because you're fighting somebody someplace in the world if you're a Muslim. If you die in a jihad, then you go right to paradise. You're with all the beautiful women, and then on earth, they honor you by in Gaza, they name roads, plazas, schools,
And in
posters,
Judea, Samaria.
in Judea and Samaria. And so next week, there'll be the Basa Misa
Basketball court.
Depending on how he was killed. No, I don't want to get into all that. The Basa Misa basketball court, and his picture will be there, and I have a little story. He gave his life in the great liberation.
And for people that don't have money for food or this or that, they have these beautiful portrait signs, glossy prints, thousands of them. It's like, when we go to get something printed, it's expensive. How do these people have all these signs with these dead people instantly? Hundreds and thousands of them. It's crazy. Spend your money on food if you're really starving.
Tom. They don't build basketball courts. They don't build soccer stadiums. They don't build stuff like that. That's the whole point. They're terrorists.
They have soccer fields named after terrorists. They name soccer teams after some of the terrorists.
Yeah, they do have soccer teams. I don't know about basketball. All right, go to the missiles, because this gets very, very interesting with the rockets that are flying. All right, this is very important. Here, well, you live there. Explain this geography to the folks here.
Okay.
What are we looking at?
I can't believe they don't have Jerusalem on. Oh, there it is. Jerusalem. All right. This is what they call the West Bank. That's Judea and Samaria. Here's Jerusalem right there. Here's Gaza. This is where all the rockets, most of the rockets and missiles are coming from. Here, we've all been right here together, right around this area, okay? We've all been right here together, down on the border with the Sinai Peninsula, which is now part of Egypt, was part of Israel from 67 to 73.
Damon, if you could read off where here is.
What?
Read off where he's referencing here, because we can't see it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought that they were looking at this on video. You can't see this, Mary?
We can't really see it that clearly.
Okay, this is the Gaza Strip right here. Here's Jerusalem. This is the Mediterranean Sea. Here's Tel Aviv. So rockets are hitting Tel Aviv from Gaza. Now realize, if from here to here, from just north of Tel Aviv to what they want to create as a state of Palestine is 10 miles. So clearly, if missiles are going from the Gaza Strip to Tel Aviv, which is about 50 miles, if the terrorists, Hamas, would have won elections, you would have Hamas right on top of Tel Aviv.
And
then
Ben
obviously,
Ben Gurion Airport.
and Ben Gurion Airport is right around here. Okay, Ben Gurion's probably right around here. Okay, so Tel Aviv is getting hit from Gaza Strip, which is about 50 miles. And then here, Tel Aviv is only 10 miles. And they almost had elections. Hamas would have won them. And then it would really get fun over there.
All right, now, Mark, lower this a little bit if you can. I want to show the various colors, what that means. This is 21 miles by 3 miles at its furthest point right here. This being the Gaza Strip, this is about 1.5 miles there. You almost couldn't pick more beautiful real estate than in the Middle East. This is actually Asia. This is Africa. That little line separates two continents. But this is the Mediterranean. You go down over to Italy on the Med and other countries on the Med, and you've got beautiful 5-star resorts. You got wonderful productivity. This is so in demand real estate, and it's a rocket fire. Time for a rocket fire.
Tom, stop for 1 second.
Tom, you're proving my point. Go from north to south and take it over. I mean, it turned it into a resort community.
There's 2 million people there. It's not just land.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
Hey, let Egypt take care of them.
They don't want them. They're putting up gates. They're not coming here. Operation Cast Lead 2008. We were all involved in reporting and dealing with that. Their capability, Hamas's capability, covered the yellow area.
Not quite even to Jerusalem or Tel Aviv.
Yeah, couldn't get that far. 2008. 4 years later, Operation 2012, Pillar of Defense, that was a shorter one, went out to the orange area, to Dimona.
Which included Jerusalem and Dimona, which is where the nuclear plant is.
It's a nuclear plant to make nuclear energy and nuclear, medicine and nuclear whatever, in 2012. And in 2014, Operation Protective Edge, we're very familiar with that. Look at the advancement in missile technology from 28 miles to 45, doubled it in 2 years, from 2012 to 2014, able to send a rocket from Gaza 90 miles away.
And now it's much more. That's 2014.
Right. So that's what, 7 years ago. Now, how did they advance? How did this backward country with nothing advance in missile technology so rapidly?
Iran.
You ran. Where'd you run to? So
Iran sneaks.
Where is Iran on this thing? Over here.
Over here.
So how do they get missile technology in?
By sea predominantly.
Unbelievable. All right, let's go look at what they're firing. Here's the names of the rockets, the R-160, 190 miles. Let's look at what these things actually look like. You're getting a lesson in missile technology, whether you like it or not.
Those are old.
That's the old Qassams. These are about 6 feet. Well, these are like Roman candles that kill you. They have explosive material. They have a propulsion element here. They have explosive material up top, and then they're loaded with what?
Nuts.
Yeah, shrapnel, nails, everything for ripping flesh apart. Keep it there. We've held these things, pieces of them, in our hands at the various times we've been to Insta-Road,
the police station,
to the other places. So that's how this started. You go get a piece of plumbing equipment. You go in a metal shop. I mean, the three of us can go in a day, make that cylinder. Then you got to get the other equipment.
I'll let you handle that. I'm going to take a pass.
I mean, this doesn't take rocket science, okay? This is not rocket science.
Yes, it is actually. It's
well,
right.
I was explaining to somebody the other day, how do they determine where they go? They don't have GPS. They don't have any command and control on these things. You take algebra in school. You got an arc, and you see the guy you want to hit. We want to hit Jerusalem. You get a grid paper. You make the arc. Then you guess. and there you go online, you can figure this out. You go, well, we need 2 pounds of propulsion material. And then you shoot it and you see, whoa, we're 20 miles off. So you start correcting and you figure it out pretty soon.
Well,
And now you got a rocket launcher that could hit Jerusalem after a little bit of testing.
20% of Hamas rockets are landing in the Gaza Strip.
That's another problem they have. Yeah, they go up and they come down.
These
Hey,
things.
Tom,
Yeah.
I just want to let all of our viewers know that the article you're referencing by Steve Emerson has been posted in the comments on YouTube and in Facebook. So they have a
Excellent.
link to look at it alongside of what you're showing.
Excellent, because it's a very good article. Yeah, look at this this graphic right here. Acquired from abroad, the Hamas rocket arsenal, and you could see what was acquired from abroad. It's hard to read here, but these things are 20 feet long. Some of these. I mean, now we're getting to the thing that hit Ramat Gan was probably one of those over there. That is just, remember the Scud missiles in 1991 that were coming into Israel from Iraq? And here, look at this compared to the people. That's 20 feet. And these have some guidance capabilities. This is their brand new one. This is very, very deadly, the A-120. It's named after one of their shahidas, their martyrs. Here's the inside of it. Simple Iranian 17-inch artillery rocket, custom designed for production by proxies. So 17 inches.
Here is the blueprint for your missile of Judah.
Mark, leave that one down for a second. All right, take a look at this. 17 inches around, so its diameter. That's pretty big. And all the explosive material, the nose hits, it's either timed. If it's more sophisticated, as it's coming to the ground, it'll sense the ground and explode.
I don't think these are doing that.
I don't think they're there yet. I mean, the Iranians have it. I don't think these guys do. So this thing explodes on impact. You push that little button and you're visiting your virgins in the sky. Explosive material here. All the shrapnel, additional shrapnel, and then the propulsion is back here. Very simple. You do it as a kid. You make them with water. You pump them up. You shoot them up in the air. But these guys are got a lot of them. What's this one right here? The range. Now, Damon, show us what happened since 2014.
Oh, what could possibly go wrong? They could hit every square inch of, I shouldn't say every square inch of Israel. They can't get the Golan Heights. Or if they get, here's Akko. Okay, when you go to Akko, you figure you're almost at the very north.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there's a border right here. We've also been to a border at the very absolute tip on the Lebanese border. Rosh Hanikra.
Rosh Hanikra.
Rosh Hanikra is right on the border there. Okay, so Rosh Hanikra, which okay, so Hamas can't get you. You throw a stone and you have Hezbollah.
Yeah, you're in the,
So everything that's not hittable from Hamas out of Gaza is easily reachable by Hezbollah. Okay. Now, again, I want to get back to the fact that Hamas, had they had elections, would have been in control of this whole area and basically been able to cut off. If you have a Palestinian state, this is why it's called the two-state delusion, not the two-state solution. If Hamas controls all of this, they shut off the entire north of Israel because the main highway runs north and south right through here, could be totally paralyzed. So any Jew living up here, good luck. You're probably never getting back down here to the center. It's where Israelis call the Tel Aviv, Jerusalem area, and it's called the center. It's the center of the country. We call it the center. So if you want to have a Palestinian state, chances are Hamas is going to rule it. And so you would have this whole area would be run by the same type of people that are terrorizing the country of Israel from this tiny little strip in the corner is terrorizing people all the way to up here. What do you think will happen if you give these same terrorists all that land? All you two-state dummies out there.
And if you're thinking, well, if the Hamas from Gaza can already reach those areas, fait accompli. It's already done. Not so fast. They can reach those areas with a very large missiles, which are extremely difficult to move around, to hide, particularly going through this area. So if Hamas is here, they don't need the 20-foot missiles. They need the 6-foot missiles to shut everything down. The 10-foot missiles, they're in a more strategic
And
place.
this is mountainous as well. Okay, so here you have mountains. Listen, and for if anyone thinks I'm joking about Hamas winning elections here, just Google it, okay? But here's Hebron. Hebron has a mayor that was convicted of killing 5 people. He was serving 5 life sentences, somehow gets out. Even the Palestinian Authority had a candidate that was serving 5 life sentences for terrorism. So that's even the moderate Palestinian Authority did not like Israelis for the most part. But to think of this area run by a terrorist organization would be the end of the state of Israel. I'm not diminishing what's happening out of Gaza, but you must understand that the creation of a quote Palestinian state would mean the end of the Jewish state. Maybe not in a day or a year, but it would be the end of a viable Jewish state, period.
Yeah, in a minute. I'm sending you 2 more pictures. Michelle just sent these. It's the end of Al Jazeera building in Gaza.
Takbir.
Before and after. All right, so what are we doing, folks? Tom Trento here with Damon Rosen. Damon is in from Israel, living locally for the time being, helping us out here, doing some other work. J. Mark behind the controls with Mary in another state. Monte Cristo is not with us today. We have an intern, Monte Cristo. We'll tell you about him later on. The point that was just made by Damon is it's inconceivable to have an enemy, not only that threatens you, like we're going to kill you, we're going to do all this stuff, but is doing it right now, killing Jews as we speak, to control another gigantic portion of a country that they're already shooting from, killing Jews. And I ask you very simply, if you learn nothing else from this war, Operation Guardian of the Walls, that's what they've termed it, Guardian of the Western Wall, very sacred location to Jewish people, to Christians, to people of faith. If you've learned nothing, then I want you to ask yourself this question. What sentient human being, what sane human being, what intelligent small group of people, what reasonably logical country would say it's okay for a neighboring country to fire missiles at you and for you to have proportion to recognize their struggle and to not completely obliterate them or destroy them. You have to stop when things get too tough for them. What country in their right mind would allow a situation to continue where an enemy dedicated to the killing of people who are living there continue killing the people that are living there? Who in their right mind would say that's okay? Well, what's the alternative? I mean, if you say, okay, that's not right, then what has to happen? Well, you're seeing what has to happen. The Israelis are going in and they're trying to take out the military leadership and protect the civilians. How do we know that? How long, if tomorrow the Israeli National Security Council says, you know what, forget about proportionality, forget about civilian, forget about collateral damage. Let's go destroy the northern section of Gaza where a lot of these missiles are coming from, particularly going into Tel Aviv. How long would it take to just flatten the whole area, kill every human being in there?
A few hours.
Yeah, a few hours, literally a few hours. A few hours. It's that small. There's so many planes. We met with Avery, General Avery, and he explained and detailed the attack on the nuclear reactor in Baghdad in 1981, June 7, 1981. And remember, he said they had 8 F-15s coming in, and they follow each other. They go in, they do their maneuver, they drop a bomb, they get out. They follow each other. 160 aircraft went in 2 nights ago. That same procedure, one after another, hitting 600 targets. Imagine if they just said there are no targets. Just blow everything up on a grid. You blow up these
You'd have
grids.
tens of thousands, if
Tens of
not
thousands.
hundreds of thousands of dead people. So the fact that there are 130 dead, listen, every life counts. I'm not diminishing lives. Do you realize the accuracy and the planning it takes to have so few casualties? Do you realize that if Israel did not care about collateral damage, this would have been over on Tuesday? It would have been over on Tuesday.
It would have been a white flag surrender. The world would have been against Israel. But 10 years from now, people would have been saying, man, we're so glad they stopped it 10 years ago. Show these 2 pictures. And I want to interview one of the Al Jazeera executives in the building moments before it was redecorated. So the last 2 graphics that our producer Michelle sent, there's a before and after of Tom is only half screen when he moves, downsize the screen a bit. Yeah, I'm moving around, my fault. All right, what we're doing here at 10:30, we're going to wind up in a second.
I don't have anything from you.
You don't have anything from me. Yeah, you got 2, me directly to you. The second one is the red circle one. Put the second picture up first.
I don't have it.
With the red, all right, I'm going to send it again. How can I send it again to you when I'm in
Here
here?
it goes. Just came up.
Okay.
Red circle one?
Red circle one first.
Good
Watch
Wi-Fi.
this. All right, we're in Gaza. I'm taking you to Gaza, and we're taking you to a building in Gaza. It's circled in red, and that building is the media center for the Arab press. There it is right there on that screen over there. It'll pop up for the folks. That's the media center where Al Jazeera, the Arab media
Muslim
outlet,
Brotherhood.
the Muslim Brotherhood run. That's where their offices are. And the Israelis decided it's time to take that out because they're broadcasting all this crazy nonsense. So they usually, and in this case they did also, the picture going to go back up?
I got to put these side by side.
And I put them side by side. We're putting them up. And I happen to have one of the executives. He's in the US, but he's been in touch with the executives in the Al Jazeera building. And when they go up, people will see it. So, Mr. Habib, what is it? Imam Habib or just Mr. Mukmad Habib?
Oh, you can just call me Habib.
Habib.
Habib even.
Mr. Habib, your compatriots at Al Jazeera over in Gaza, the Jews think you've been putting out bad information, and they're asking all the residents of the building to leave.
Yes.
Yes. What do you think about that? They're asking you to leave.
Well, I do not like this so much because if there were still people in it when the building fell, then we could claim that they are killing civilians. We would much rather have this excuse that they are killing babies and killing civilians than actually get them out, because makes much better story, makes the Zionist to be the very bad man.
Oh, well, there's your building before. Yes. And there's your building before.
Yes, beautiful building.
So they knocked out, the Israelis made phone calls, asked everyone to leave. And you advised your friends to leave?
No, I say, stay. Please stay. I'm leaving, but you stay.
All right. And then just mere seconds later, as you're looking on the screen, magically the building's not there anymore.
No, the building's still there. They just sliced off a little part of it.
Where? Let me see. Go back to it.
Look, there's the.
I thought this was going to be a video.
No, it's just before and after.
The roof up there, the little red roof.
Yeah.
And the poles going up right there. Okay.
Oh, they just sliced off the top?
It's on both sides of it. It's like a
okay. They just took off the top so you can't broadcast anymore.
Well, you remember the helicopter squadron leader, Rosen.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
He was talking about how they could make the munitions to do whatever they want them to do. And he basically said, he goes, oh yeah, if we just want to, we want to go into the second room of the third story, we just make a munition and we don't want to hurt any neighbors.
See that window?
We could do it that way.
See the window there? the one right below the towers, there's a little window right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
See how, where the window is over there? Just to the right,
All right, I got a reference point now. Go back to it.
all right? You see that, they just cut off the half of it.
Yeah, go back to the other. Okay. Oh, I see it. Okay.
Give it a
All right.
haircut.
So I gave it a little haircut. All right, look, we're gonna wind this down.
You gotta put Rashida, I thought about Rashida.
Rashida Tlaib right here, a couple of days ago. Here's what she said. Rashida Tlaib is you talk about the Israeli parliament with jihadis in it. The U.S. Congress has jihadis
Yeah,
in it.
absolutely.
Rashida Tlaib is
She's-
an actual
Her and
Palestinian.
Ilhan Omar are terrorist sympathizers, without a doubt. Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar are terrorist sympathizers. Fact. Sue me for that.
I don't know this for a fact, but I know that.
I
for
didn't
a
say
fact.
they're terrorists. They are terrorist sympathizers. If you are sympathizing with Hamas, you are a terrorist sympathizer by definition.
Yeah, that's a fact. I don't know what I'm going to say for a fact. I would almost guarantee she's written checks to the Hamas through some outlet.
Hamas has written checks to Ilhan Omar.
There you go.
There's no doubt. What do you think care is? What do you think that when her famous something happened,
Yeah.
some people did something on 9/11?
Was that a CARE conference? That was Ilhan Omar.
That was
Yes.
Ilhan Omar, and that was Hamas paying her to speak right there.
Ilhan Omar from Minnesota, Congresswoman.
From Somalia.
From Somalia, from Minnesota through Somalia, and Rashida Tlaib from
Michigan.
Detroit, Michigan. They're the two sides of the same jihadi coin. Rashida Tlaib said the other day, and I didn't believe Mark, I didn't see this, but she did. U.S. representative called for Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to be, quote, held accountable for war crimes, close quote, amid the escalating conflict between Israelis and Palestinians that left dozens of Palestinians dead, including
children.
So she is calling for the nation closest to us from a national security perspective for the prime minister to be held accountable for war crimes. What is this? Does this make any sense whatsoever?
A member of Congress.
If you are a terrorist, it makes perfect sense. If you are a Jew-hating terrorist sympathizer, which, let's get this straight, Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar are Jew-hating terrorist sympathizers serving in the U.S. Congress. Yes, that is expected from Jew-hating terrorist sympathizers.
Look at how she modulates her outrageous claim. People need to understand that I'm not asking you to stand against, the various people there. She couldn't even say the Jews.
Right.
The various people there. I'm not asking you to stand against
She was
that.
talking about the Druze.
Yeah, the Druze. But the leader there, she didn't even say in Israel, is promoting this kind of violence that is leading to the continuation of killing children. He's just killing children. Netanyahu wants to kill children, killing of children, and the continuation of the pain and the harm and the oppression, the violence toward Palestinians. This is something that has continued and enabled and supported by this prime minister. He needs to be held accountable for war crimes. We know this lady's insane. So, but that's the situation right now. The update: 2,300 rockets, about 10 Israelis killed. And it's not ending. It's going to be going on for a while. We have on the Jerusalem Post evangelical Christians taking a stand for Israel.
Thank you, evangelical Christians.
Calling on Biden to do the same. Biden is saying the least minimalist words he has to say to keep Jewish support alive for his administration. I stand. Israel has a right to defend itself. He's reading the.
As the progressives want to,
Yeah.
Listen, this has the potential to really crack that Democratic Party. Because the progressives hate Israel. The progressive wing,
the Marxists. When he says progressives, the
Marxists,
half the party.
The progressive wing hates Israel, very pro-Palestinian, and all the dumb old Jews that vote Democrat. Thank you, idiots. The 70-80% of you that vote Democrat, even though the Democrat Party has not been the friend of Israel, there might actually be a shift. Unfortunately, I think the Progressive Party has a lot of the momentum, and quite frankly, the pro-Israel faction of the Democrat Party does not instill any fear into the leadership. Okay, but the progressive wing instills a lot of fear into Joe Biden. So that's where I think American policy is headed under this trashy administration.
And that's coming from an American Israeli, a person who was born in America, lived in Israel.
I have
back
Israeli
there for a little while.
citizenship. I'm still a dual citizen.
So he knows of what he speaks. And on that note, good seeing you again,
Good to
my
see
brother. Yeah. Mark, come on in. Say hello to the folks.
Oh, no, I'm just thinking.
Come on in. Say hello. Give Damon a hug on camera. Come on. All right. Give him a kiss. Give him a kiss.
Yeah,
All right, we're gonna get. Oops, sorry.
yeah. My solution: convert, submit, or leave.
Yeah, right. All right. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Tom Trento, 1040. Thanks for hanging in with us. We'll be back here tomorrow morning, Sunday, 9 a.m. East Coast time, 4 o'clock Israel time. We'll be here as long as this takes. Look, costs money to do this. If you can write large checks, we would appreciate it. We need some money. We want to get this guy back in here. We got to raise quite a bit of money to do that, not just for him, but for other equipment and all of that. Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you.